Welcome to the Skydance Mountain Author Spotlight, an arm of Authors on the Mountain, the show for creatives of all types: authors, writers, poets, musicians, artists, dancers, and craftsmen. All those who draw inspiration from creativity and from being creative. If you are an author or creator looking for motivation and innovative inspiration, this show is for you. As Stephen Pressfield says, creative work is a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. And to that we say, Amen. This is Brett, founder and creative director at Skydance Mountain. So glad you're here today. Let's get creative. Today, we have the privilege of meeting with one of my favorite people on the planet. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, horsewoman and author, Mary Corning. As a conscious awareness coach who has squarely faced addiction, loss, and bitter disappointments in life, she practices what she preaches, sharing her wisdom, warmth, and wonderful wit based on her book, Perfect Practice, a philosophy for living an authentic and transparent life. Mary extends her philosophy into her world of horses, where both people and horses benefit from realizing a different way to interpret life's challenges. Let's welcome Mary to the Skydance Mountain Author Spotlight. Mary, good to have you here and finally be back together. It's been a couple of weeks since we've actually seen each other, and I've been so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the show.
Oh, me too. Thank you. I'm so glad we get to visit. You're really one of the nicest people I've ever met. And so going into any podcast, I feel really excited, but this one most of all, really.
Thank you. That's how I feel.
Really
I've been looking forward to it. We haven't, the way we're talking, it's like we've been lifelong friends, and we haven't, since, what was it, May of this year, 6 months ago, maybe? And we've
was it just that? Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I know. And I just feel a real connection with you and Magnus, Melissa, and I do feel that way. And you'd think that we'd gotten together and gone trail riding or done stuff together.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it at some point. But I think part of it goes even beyond our connection with our love for nature and the mountains and horses and writing and riding into that. What I love and was drawn immediately to you and to your book, which we're going to talk about today, Perfect Practice, a philosophy for living an authentic and transparent life. What I love about this is that you are so much into becoming the best version of yourself, personal growth and development, by facing the hard stuff, the stuff that people don't want to talk about, and how that stuff can transform us. So I hope that comes out a little bit in our conversation today.
Oh, yeah, it should, because boy, that's the backstory for sure. Amen. The backstory was pretty tragic and in a really positive way.
Yeah. If you don't mind, share your story here so that folks know that life wasn't always buttercups and dandelions for you.
Yeah, it wasn't unicorns and rainbows, right. And unicorns especially. Okay. So I was raised in Portland, Oregon with a single mom, and I was the youngest of 4 kids. And she really was the most impactful person in my life. My mom was absolutely somehow divine in her love. She had a very tough job raising 4 kids alone. She worked for the state long hours, but she was always passionate and always believed in me. And I was the youngest, and this was the 60s and 70s. And, there was a lot of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and everything was changing, women's rights and all sorts of things going on, free love. And it was a very tumultuous time, and I was right in the thick of it. My sister was 5 years older than me. And since my mom worked a lot, my sister was a really important person to me. So she was 5 years older. So everything she did, I did, and she did all the wrong things, at least I guess it was right at the time. But so the early years, actually into my 20s, were really dysfunctional. I mean, I think I said in the book that I became very good at being dysfunctional.
Yes.
And, I mean, I quit school at 15 and I went to work, and I had my own business by the time I was 18, and I had like 10 employees when I was 21. And I was passionate and motivated, but I was also an addict. Alcohol was my drug of choice. And I was really lost in my mind because I never fit in. I never fit in. That's why I quit school. I liked to learn. I just didn't like to learn that way.
Right.
And I needed experience. I'm very much into talking about empirical knowledge, that knowledge that you gain from experience. And I'm not one for textbooks and not, a linear kind of teaching. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't have any value.
Right.
So I ended up, and jump in if you have any questions, but so far it's pretty straightforward, I guess. A lot of people probably had that kind of lifestyle. Although I talked to my naturopath yesterday and he said, I don't think everybody did drugs in the 60s. I said, well,
one guy over here didn't, but
no. Yeah. Everybody I do. I mean, I still see some of these people. I really know.
It was the culture. It was the culture.
Yeah, and it, you always hear the old people say it was different back then, but, but anyway, so, but I always loved horses. But because we lived in the suburbs and my mom worked so hard and we didn't have any money, and I didn't know anything. I had no exposure whatsoever. That wasn't going to happen, that I got a horse. So by the time I was 21 and I was kind of a successful businesswoman at that time, like I said, I was really good I still did all these things, but I had a business and I was very successful. I'd go out and I would rent this dude horse every Sunday. I'd pay my $25 and I'd ride her around this big field, and every Sunday, and I fell in love with her. And one day I came to ride her and they were showing her to sell her. And it just broke my heart. You can't sell. Her name was Gypsy. I said, you can't sell Gypsy. And they said, oh yeah, these people might even buy her. And I'm like, I'll buy her.
Wow.
Okay. So I bought a horse. And that's where
and how
it started. And
how old were you at that point? How old did you buy your first horse at?
21 or 22, right in 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And actually was a bartender too. I had a night job as a bartender, and one of my customers had horses, and they said, well, you can keep her with us. And so I boarded her there. And then anyway, my first saddle blanket was a little rug, like a doormat, that you use in front of the front. I just didn't have anything and any knowledge whatsoever. So I was at this barn and there was this gal there who training, and I was riding this horse in a leverage bit and pulling back on the reins, and and she was going to go over backwards, and like I said, she was a dude, so get her off the dude string. She was not the same horse, and so the gal said, hey, I can help you if you'll let me. And as it turned out, I said, God, yes, please, anything. I'm going to die here. And she said, she became my best friend, and turned out she was an absolute devotee of Ray Hunt.
Oh my goodness.
So, and Tom Dorrance both. And so she shortly thereafter took me to my first horse clinic, which was Tom Dorrance.
For viewers and listeners who might not know who these two guys are,
oh yeah,
tell us a little.
Yeah, I have to remember there's two people in the world that don't know who these guys are. Yeah, no, it's true. They seem so larger than life to me.
Yes.
I do forget that
Well,
it's, and that's also,
they are to so many of us in the horse world. It's like
yeah,
it's going
yeah,
back to George Washington for the country, or something
yeah,
like that.
it's like
Fathers of natural horsemanship, right? Grandfathers or whatever.
they are absolutely. And needless to say, how old am I now? 60 something. So, we're talking 40 years ago. So it's okay if somebody doesn't know who they are.
That's right.
Anyway, they were, Tom especially was uh, a philosopher, a horseman, a savant in so many ways. But what I saw with these both Tom Dorrance and Ray Hunt with horses was very, very different than the Western movies that I saw. And even in some of these places, I had started to barns, different places where people were pulling on their horses and things like that. So there was something. And I was asked recently, because what I ended up doing is really following Ray Hunt, because Tom didn't come around as much as Ray did.
Hmm.
And he was quite a bit older, by then. I said Tom was never young. The first time I saw him, he was, I don't know, 70 maybe, or, I mean, he was not a young man, but Ray was hitting the road back then and going out to spread the word. And he was the one that, I had the most exposure with. So I would go see him every chance I get. And someone asked me recently, what did you feel when you watched Ray Hunt? Why Ray? Why did that make such an impact on your whole life, let alone, where you were headed? And I said, Ray was he had such a charisma and so much wisdom. And in that, and a very powerful, very strong voice, strong man, you respect him. But within that was this kindness and this empathy for the horse that you could feel when you were near him. And so what I've often said is that I felt like I was that horse that was scared and troubled and wanted things to be right, but just everybody was pulling on my reins,
Yes, yes, yes.
and everybody was telling me what to do instead of asking me who I am, and everybody but my mom. So there she was back there rooting me on. You can do anything you put your mind to. You go for it. So I had that,
Yes.
wonderful support. So that is how I ended up, but really just becoming enmeshed in the horsemanship. But soon thereafter, I went through a couple very difficult hard to say, couple divorces too, and I was using still and doing things, and finally I called it divine intervention because I still felt so separated from people. I moved to this 80 acres, and this is in the book actually, I won't do too much spoiling. I moved to this 80 acres called Bear Canyon. And it was Bear Canyon because there was bear that lived there. I'm telling you, they were in my creek, in the mornings. And I lived all by myself. And it was a rundown drug house. It was motor oil on the living room carpet from the last renter built a motor in the living room, So I spent the next 5 years building a horse facility there, and started taking on more
all by
horses.
yourself. All by yourself.
All by myself. And it really was my withdrawal from the world out there. Like I was still using and doing things, but I became kind of secluded. And I really poured myself into the animals,
Mm-hmm.
and so then my father was dying, and I woke up one morning in a panic attack. I didn't know what a panic attack was back then, but I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was going to die. And I thought, nobody's going to find me. I'm up here by myself in the mountains, and and so I did a meditation because I'd always nurtured. At that time, I was doing a lot of Native American way and sweat lodges and studying. I had a teacher that I studied with, and I was learning the culture and learning the way, and so I would do this meditation that I called journeying, and I would just search for my answers that way. And it was 10 o'clock in the morning, I can remember, on this rainy, foggy day. And when I came out of that meditation, I said, I have to quit drinking. And I had a big pile of brush in the back area. And I also smoked cigarettes. I had a carton of cigarettes, and I had wine and beer and some hard liquor. Because, you don't go to the store that often when you're up there. And right then and there, I went out and put it on the burn pile and lit the fire. And that was the beginning of the next beginning.
Amazing. And that was your turning point. Do you feel like you truly hit the bottom of the barrel, or could you have gone lower, or was that your bottom?
Oh boy, I think I could definitely have gone lower. My sister sadly went all the way. My sister, she never made it out. She died from it. Yeah, so I could have definitely gone lower. But for me, because I feel two factors. One was my mother instilled this love, and I was also hardwired that way. Mm-hmm. Like you are. You're just this natural, effervescent person that, I don't know about anybody else, but I want to be near you,
and vice versa.
You've got that. It just, yeah, you're like, if you're a horse, I'd buy you.
That's great. Oh, Wilbur.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So,
thank you for that.
But it fueled this desire for things to be good. That love in me, that positive, you can do what you put your mind to, that entrepreneur, the successful, all of those positive elements were simply, I don't say that lightly, it wasn't easy. It was simple, but not easy. That covered up by the substance abuse and the violence and all this stuff that I had experienced in the first half of my life. It didn't make it go away, but it just covered it up.
I see.
So really, horses saved my life, you could say.
Beautiful. And the reason I asked that about the bottom of the barrel is because sometimes people think, well, I'll just wait till it gets really bad. And you just get two examples of the ways it can go. And I definitely go this way. I want to, why go through all that suffering, needless suffering and pain, and what it does.
Yeah, I mean, I had a drunk driving accident where my head went through the windshield, and that wasn't enough.
That wasn't the bottom.
I quit. Yes. I quit that time.
Yeah.
For 3 months or 5 months or something.
My goodness. So
it had to come from within,
From within, yeah. And were you calling out for help at all when you said it from within? I mean, I'm picturing somebody here that might happen to be watching or listening to this and saying, yeah, but what do I do? I mean, this is a doing world, and I know you well enough to know it's more about being. But go ahead and share that next step in the journey.
Okay. Well, every single human on the planet in my world drank. So I was there, found myself complete culture shock. I had no idea because I'm Irish Catholic raised, I mean, I think that we were drinking at my christening, I mean, that was part of the culture.
Bottle, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it was also widely accepted,
Yes,
you
yes.
know. And so when that stopped, then it was like a rebirth. That's the best way I could say it, because everything had to change.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to go to a concert, or how to dance, or how to have a conversation, or especially a relationship, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I had to relearn everything.
Hmm.
And but I was, like I said, it was so my weave that I couldn't not do it. It was that or die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and I'm still finally at this point. So that, I think, was about 30 some odd years ago,
Hmm.
maybe 29, anyway, right in there.
Right.
And so all these Marys that have been birthed since then have kept morphing and evolving. And I would say with certainty that I have come home now.
Beautiful.
That when I say authentic and transparent, this is the most I couldn't be any more me, you know.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it took a lot of peeling those layers.
Wow. And it wasn't easy. And you did go through pain. You did go
Yeah.
through
Oh,
fear
yeah.
and suffering and resistance. I wanted to talk to you
Lots.
about those things because I know, as we were talking about just before we hit record here today, that this world,
Yeah.
there's several wars going on right now, even as we're speaking,
Yes.
in the world, which is sad. But you had something really wise to say. Anyway, I was going to say we're all dealing in one way or another with fear, pain, and resistance, and so often want to run away from it and resist that and push away rather than allowing it to transform us. And that's what I love about your book and about your life and story and your philosophy. Share from there. tell,
Yes.
tell
Yes. Thank you.
why do we not run from this pain? What can pain do for us?
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a full quote from the book that says we can turn pain into purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that um, we don't change what's ineffective if there isn't some trouble. We don't change when we're happy. We don't change when, as even comfortable mediocrity, a lot of times people will just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and then talking about, well, it's just, things, I wish they were different than they are, but there's not that drive. And sadly, humans are so habituated. We all are so habituated and conditioned by culture, I call it in the book, I call it the illogical logicals. That's the psychological, the physiological, and the sociological. And those are all attributes of the human, but they get out of control.
Yeah, yeah.
And they become obsessive and habituated. So they become illogical when we think that's the only way. So we have to break the paradigms of what we've learned. And for many, excuse me, especially in Western culture, I go to Safeway and there is a line to the prescription counter.
Yeah.
People it's more and more every day. And because we want some quick fix, we want a pill, we want it to go away. We want the pain to go away. So we cover it up. And again, I was the master. I was an alcoholic. I could talk my walk, and so it is important that we don't cover it up so we can find what it's teaching us. What is it there to tell us what is ineffective and not working? In the book, I mentioned humans would rather eradicate than educate. So, and I use the example of wolves, we just want to eradicate them. And now there's a real crisis with wild horses, and they're eating out of dumpsters. There's there because we get out of balance because we want to manage and control everything. We want to control our neighbors. We want to control the horse. We want to control what happens in another side of the world, and that control, I'll try to wrap it up with this, that control is based in fear, because we don't try to control what we don't fear.
Wow, that's powerful, right? Just to highlight that we don't try to control what we don't fear. I like the way you reverse that. Instead of saying we try to control what we fear, we don't try to control what we don't fear.
Yes. And so for me, and this is the pillar of my work, is fear is what's running the show in the mind, in our habits, in conditioning, in getting the pharmaceuticals to cover it up because we're afraid. I don't want to feel pain, and but the other side of that is forgotten, and the other side of that I call love. But people might even have trouble with that word. You might call it awareness or consciousness or presence, or this is, if you'll sit with the idea of fear comes from a thought that something should be other than it is. Right? We don't want it to be like this. We want to change it.
Beautiful.
Love is the flip side of acceptance. When a mother with a child, they lift cars off of, you hear those stories that they can do miraculous things, and the love, you hear the love of God, or the love of a friendship that's unending, or a marriage, or you don't put anything, it's above all else. It's above all else. Thoughts come, and you might have a bad day, or you might be frustrated, and you might have a conflict even and not agree. But that love it isn't tarnished by it. You're well aware that this is a changing factor of life that's going to come and it's going to go. But that basis, that awareness, that consciousness, or I call love, remains. So when we're in fear, the steel trap closes. Our options are limited. Usually it's eradicate, run or kill, or, cover it up, or deny, stick your head in the sand, don't look. That all comes from a fearful mind, but it is not original to us. That is not original. That was a conditioned response that we learned from the illogical logicals, the psychological, sociological, and physiological.
I like how you tied that up with the illogical.
Yeah.
I think so often
it's very simple. It's just not easy to shift out of the habit, as I described with the alcoholism. It's not easy. It took me a long time and a lot of pain to shift out of a habit of covering up.
Yeah. You didn't have, so when you don't have your alcohol, what was how did you stay the course during that time? I mean, it sounds like you just didn't do it, didn't go.
Well, that's where the horse saved my life.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, the horse saved my life. And Ray Hunt gave me a higher standard to reach for. He gave me perfect practice. The name of the book is from Ray. His statement, and the first quote in the book says, "I may not be perfect, but I'll never settle for less." And that motivated me to not settle for pain.
Right.
That didn't mean I was going to be free from it today, but it gave me, and so through my love for horses, see, that gave me the different source from which I was living, because I loved the horses. I feared humans. It's
Yes.
really quite remarkable that I even work with humans now, because that's why I lived on 80 acres in the woods, because I was afraid of them,
Uh-huh.
but the horse, they could do anything. And the love would remain, you know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had that Ray, along with that love, which I love how you equated it with consciousness or awareness.
Yeah.
Ray,
Yeah.
somehow that what Ray offered and what the horse offered really came in a package of hope, would you say? It gave you
Yes, absolutely. And faith,
faith. Yeah.
faith, faith in something other than what I learned.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And that's what I want to, that's my job,
Yeah.
in this world. I am here. I tell my clients all the time, ride on my faith until yours is strong. And
Wow.
that is what I do. I keep reminding them of what they already know, who they already are, that no one has to try to become better. They just have to stop not being who they are.
How simple that
I
sounds.
know.
Just be who you are.
It really is simple. It really is simple.
That's free.
It really, how are you going to become what you already are? And this is a great analogy. I use this a lot in my work. I say, lay a baby on the bed. Your baby comes out of the womb, you lay them on the bed, and they're gonna laugh, and they're gonna cry, and they're gonna scream, and they're gonna be afraid, and then they're gonna giggle, they're gonna be curious, you're gonna see all of humanity laying on a bed with no outside influence. This just comes with the package of being in a human form. The emotions did. But what we started doing is associating those emotions with something outside of us.
Ooh.
We started thinking, someone makes us mad, someone makes us scared. This situation isn't right, so therefore I'm sad. We start associating, the identity starts forming through those beliefs. But my job is to bring them back to the baby on the bed, because then they'll see those things come and go. But
Mm-hmm.
there's the awareness of it does not come and go. And that awareness is the love that is the essence of our
Wow,
life.
that is so beautiful. Why horses? I mean, could it be another tool, another
Not for me. It couldn't be for me. It could be for my husband. I think it's blacksmithing.
uh-huh. So okay,
Yeah. For
so
you, it's music, probably,
music and
too.
horses,
Your
nature,
music.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But why
Nature,
horses for
nature,
you?
right.
Yeah, I mean, what was it about the horse that spoke most to you and gave you that hope and that faith, that opportunity to reach out for that?
I think they saw me.
Mm.
Nobody saw me when my mom saw me, but she was busy. But like teachers and uh, peers and other parents, authorities and bosses, and they saw who people. We tend to see through our own fear. We see through our own perspective. We don't see the other person. We see who they think they are. or who we think they are. And the horse just accepted me. You can go out there in the morning with your coffee and sweats and don't even comb your hair, and they're like, hello.
Yes.
I mean, there's just this acceptance. And then with that came a relationship. And if I didn't do my part well, that horse did not hide from telling me what he thought.
So they're pretty honest, pretty good measure
Yeah,
of what
they're honest. Yeah. Held me to the mark.
Yeah. Something you bring up in the book is about not feeling like you were enough. And you talked about acceptance just now. So you're saying horses made you feel like you were enough?
Yeah, every day of my life to this day. To this day, there's not one time that now I could feel like I wasn't. I mean, I talk about this in the book too, that when I saw Ray, at first, because of the conditioning, I thought I wanted to be like him. And there is not another human on the planet like Ray Hunt. There's only one Ray Hunt by far. I mean, that dude was his own person. And so I had to learn that, because that's where the blend comes. Yeah. I wanted to be authentic, but then I had ambition to be somebody that I respected or loved or admired. And I had to figure that out. Ray has this saying, and Tom too, that I want the horse to do my thing their way. And I had to learn that as being a student of Ray's, that I had to do Ray's thing my way, not Ray's way.
I see. Yeah. There's a big difference.
Oh, it complete. Yeah. Because it's a cup that will never empty. I mean, or it will never fill. Sorry. That it will never be able to fill. We're never going to become somebody else.
Yeah.
But we can become very transparent. That's on the title. We can be transparent. Joseph Campbell used to say, transparent to the transcendence. I love that quote so much, that the transcendence is that awareness, consciousness, love, whatever. The transcendence is the depth before the physical, before the psychological, before the mental. Yeah. It's that the essence. So be transparent to the essence of who we are.
And that Joseph Campbell is known for his study of all the different cultures and myths that lead on us on the journey, right? And from who we are now to who we can be is how.
To illuminating who we are. I mean, he called it the hero's journey, and he would tell of what we started to talk about, good and evil.
Yeah.
The hero's journey is the hero's going to meet the villain. And he loved mythology, and he talked about even in movies and books and storytelling and all of that same journey shows up. And that's what you and I are talking about here. This was my hero's journey. This is how I became transparent to the transcendence, is by peeling what I wasn't, not by becoming what I am, something new, but by peeling off the masks of what I wasn't.
Interesting, because usually everybody's got their dragons, their demons, as they say. Yours was obviously alcohol, not feeling enough. But slaying that dragon looked way different than what we might imagine it to be. It was peeling off the layers instead of taking.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I guess you.
That is pivotal change. I mean, that one right there can make a difference in a lifetime, is
Yeah.
knowing that. It's an inward journey, not an outward journey.
Hmm. Yeah. Which
That's
again
that
is
is
scary.
Zen.
Yeah, say that again.
That is Zen.
That is Zen. Yeah, yeah, it is. I love that. Speaking of Zen, so you Ray is always with you. You live his words, his
Oh,
life. Who are there other books you're reading, other people whose teaching it really has inspired and helped you along the way that you're learning from right now?
oh yes. Well, in the horse world, interestingly enough, I have spent the last 6 or 7 years not following a teacher. And because it came to me that if I would really perfect what I learned from Ray, really go all the way with it instead of being diluted by more information and more information. This person does it that way and this person, but just pour myself into it. And what was so funny was then that's actually where I really found myself, was doing Ray's thing my way, was when I stopped trying to have more information. There comes a day I say you can't learn to ride a horse from reading a book.
Right.
You have to get on and ride,
Yeah.
and that's so in the horse world, that's where I've been. But interestingly enough, I've come full circle now, and I feel this very solid place. And I signed up for a clinic this summer to ride with a fellow called named Brent Graff, and he is a lovely, lovely human being and a lovely horseman, and I'm very excited to work with him. So in the horse world, that is kind of something I'm going to go experience.
Yes, that's it.
Um, in my personal life, um, there are many great books and many great teachers that have helped me through all these passages. And in the modern philosophers, I would say, I read The Course in Miracles, was a life-changing book for me. I
Mhm.
read it a three times and did the workbook, and that was a long, my husband and I together, we did that, and that was a 5-year study. It was a very in-depth study. Then I kind of went into some Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie and some modern kind of accessible teachers,
Sure.
and then I've come full circle again to now I really embrace the teachings of a man named Muji. And Muji he's brought it all the way home. He was the one that all the others were warming me up. Ray says,
Oh,
we're not going to get him in the trailer. We're going to get him ready to get in the trailer.
oh yeah.
Well, all the other teachers got me ready, and Muji brought it
Put it
home.
in,
So,
huh? Yeah. I love
so
that analogy. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. And how do you
yeah.
spell
So there's
Moody?
many books out there by great authors that there's if the student is ready, the it's there for you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's there for you.
I love that as a a life coach, so to speak, and a person who helps people overcome their, get through their fears, their pain, and help it transform their life. You're still, um, on a journey of
Studying.
still studying.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You've got beginner's mind. I love that. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, and I use that's the book is written this way, and all my work is discussed in a very real time metaphor. Like I use what's happening today as an example, so people can see it for real. They can I tell the stories in the book so that you'll experience, you're reading the story about the horse flipping over backwards, and you're right there, and you're in it. And then you've got those emotions coming up. And then I talk about what I learned and what I gained,
Yeah.
the purpose to the pain. And so that really gives the reader or the listener that empirical knowledge again.
Yes.
That it's an experience, and same with my sessions is we talk about things in real time and use it to be released, not to hold on to it.
Yeah, that's what I love about your book is that we live in story. We learn from story, and there's so many.
Yeah.
It spreads the whole gamut, from tears to laughter to encouragement, inspiration, and hope.
Yeah.
I really encourage people to read this. I wanted to ask you, and this was just a personal curious question too. You are a writer, and I've heard you say elsewhere that you journal, you've been journaling and writing all your life, would be safe to say. If you had not written this book, was this book for you, or was it for other people, or was it both? If you had not written this book, would you still be the same person?
That's a great question. I'll sit with it for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
The book was pivotal. Writing the book was pivotal in recognizing how far I'd come, what I learned. It's kind of like I encourage people to write things down, because you know how we can think of things in our minds, but they get kind of lost and they get muddled with lots of other thoughts and things. But the act of writing something down or texting it on your phone, you can do that too. I wrote most of the book on the phone, but about getting it out of here and onto something and then reading it, it solidifies the knowledge. It takes it further than just playing with ideas in our head. There's something in the application, and I found that when you and I worked on the Audible together, I've realized that was true again when I was reading it.
Yeah.
When I was reading it out loud, cover to cover, it came through, and I started recognizing how I've changed since I wrote it. The messages didn't change. The message still held true years later. But I'm in this state of grace in my life, and I'm reading these stories about when I wasn't. So I really had that contrast that really showed me. And I want to tell you this too. I really want to really thank you so much for your brilliance in helping create the Audible. And I got a call at 6:30 in the morning a few days ago from a friend who's a Facebook friend. We've kind of become friends, but I've never met her. And she was a huge fan of the book, and she had read it cover to cover. And she said, I play roulette. I just open it and read it where I need it, and these things. But then she listened to the Audible, and she called me up. Because this is for the public, I won't use the exact expression that she used. I'll clean it up a little. But
it was emphatic.
She was wowed. I mean, wow. Let's just say wow, she said. Yes. And she said, I thought I knew your book. I mean, I've read it many times. I've been through it. But hearing you read it really made a difference.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I want to thank you, Brett, because you fell out of the sky into our laps at literally talk about divine intervention. We wanted to record it 3 years ago. We gave up, and we gave up and didn't think another thought. And one day you call, and here we have an Audible, and I get a call from Spain.
Oh my goodness.
That it changed somebody's life.
That is humbling. I thank you so much for. I was just so grateful that you said yes, and I felt so privileged and blessed to be able to edit your audiobook, not just read it, but listen to your voice sharing it in my ear. And I felt like, man, how blessed am I to be able to do this? And we've had, we call them goosebump moments. We've had many, many along the way.
Oh yeah.
You've and they are very reciprocal, and that
just very much.
That means the world to me, and I'm so grateful. I can't imagine the world being a place without your book and your audiobook in it now, because it has helped transform and change Melissa in my life. You were so willing. We were in the throes of, what do we do with this Mustang we've been working with? And you gave us some beautiful, you said, I don't remember your exact words, but the effect was, can't tell you what to do, but you were very encouraging and inspiring, and you gave Melissa, especially because this was her baby, to actually let go and say, it's okay, because she had worked very hard with this horse in Mustang. Yes. So I mean, we weren't your client per se, but you just offered amazing encouragement and help and wisdom. I think that was it, just wisdom and grace. That's the other thing I want to say about you, is that you exude love and grace. That if you had three names, it'd be Mary, Love, Grace. That's just what you do, who you are. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, I feel it so strongly when we talk, and I think it's so cool how that connection all came to be. And it's a great metaphor. It's a great example of what we're talking about. Number one, it just came together. You showed up. These things happen. I didn't make it happen. You didn't make it happen. It happened in this, that's what I call grace. Yes. In this state of grace. It's life taking care of life. And then, there was no fear.
Right.
I mean, I hadn't planned to, and then, COVID came and I got that cough, and you were so supportive, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. You're like, just take your time.
No rush. But I felt bad.
And that was, the villain coming into the hero's journey was here's this COVID cough. How am I going to read this book? And it just all worked out so perfect. And here we are sharing about the whole experience, so everybody else can benefit from it.
Yes, exactly. As you were reading through there, you'd be, the way we do it, you would record and then send it to me, and I would edit it. And just, if you get to a spot where you you made a mistake and need to start over. And I forgot that you had a cough until way into, the chapter or whatever. And then there'd be this, oh my goodness, who's in this room with me? There's something and I really had huge respect for you, because you held it together all that time. And you could have said, I'm going to wait till this is over. You could have put it on the back burner. Yeah. But you didn't. Yeah. I mean, you listened. I know you didn't just push through. You were working on the time. I'm sure you were open to the right timing. But I was inspired, and I felt so bad for you. And so that's another part of that hero's journey that I got to experience and watch. And then you'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Brett," and I'm saying, "I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry you have to do this."
Yeah. There were some of those words that I couldn't pronounce, and I would just start laughing, and I'd say. I was telling my husband, it was a great experience for me as an author, by the way. This is an author's forum here. As an author, it was so good to read the book out loud, and especially record it, because I learned the value of short sentences.
You're not the first one to say that, by the way.
Yeah. I'm like, gosh, this sentence goes on forever. I can't take a breath.
We should do our audiobook before we do the print books, right? Oh,
Well, funny you say that. Magnus asked me that the other night. 2 nights ago, he asked me that because there's another book I want to do.
awesome.
And I was saying, I just don't know about going through all that print and publication. And there was so much, and he goes, well, is it possible to do the Audible first and
Go Magnus.
then do yeah.
That's great.
I said, I don't know, but I'll ask him. So there you
It
go.
is a great way to edit your book, I've heard, even if you aren't doing an
Yeah.
audio book, to read it out loud and see how it flows. Also
Yeah.
find if you're missing, even you'll see commas missing that you might not have seen before. I've had that happen so many times. And we've had authors
Yeah.
read and then, do the audio book and then, send second print drafts or second, what do you call it?
Second printing. Yeah.
Second printing.
Uh-huh.
With the corrections on it
Yeah.
and knowing that
Yeah.
it's been well edited because of their audio.
Yes.
That's a good.
We found that I was reading it off the Kindle book. I read while I was recording off the Kindle, and there was a mistake on the Kindle that wasn't in the print book.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how that came to be, but there was a word missing. So,
well, the whole experience
anyway.
was awesome for me, and I feel because it hit on every level. You talk about nature; it's a story. We love stories. Of course, there's horses all throughout the book, and it's all about personal development, becoming the very best version of yourself that you can be by facing that fear.
Yes.
That's beautiful, and I hope. Man, this time has flown by. I hope we can come back and do this again at some point. And I'm super excited.
You know me, you call, I'll be there. Yeah, I love talking with Brett.
And same here. I get my Mary fix when we talk. So
yeah, we need that once in a while.
Yes. Well, so you talked about that book. Anything else that's on the horizon for you that you're working on in your work or in your creative life?
Oh, I don't know. We're, that whole spontaneous thing. I'm playing around with doing some short spontaneous videos where we talked about this earlier that I'm just kind of out here in nature and on our place or here at home and it's like sometimes I just want to share with, so I just turn on the video and start visiting a little bit. And so I'm playing around with that to see if that's a comfortable forum for people, if they like to see that. And we put it both on the website and on the Facebook page. It'll go always, we populate the Facebook page first. Yes. And then Magnus, my husband, takes the material off that and starts to put it on the website. So that's one thing. And we're gonna probably, I really would love to do some more podcasts because it's really my favorite way. I love one-on-one discussion like this, and I do too. I think it's a great way.
Your wisdom and your spirit and your soul comes out in that as well. And there's a new dynamic when you're speaking with people. One of my favorite podcasts I've ever listened to was with Warwick Schiller. That was an amazing depth. I had to go think, rewind. What did they say? I mean, if you're really,
I know we got to listen to it a couple times. Well, yes. And that's a good reminder too, that because I was on his podcast this year, next year I'll get to be on his summit.
Oh my goodness.
So
way to go.
That's going to be awesome. So he announced at this year's summit that it's going to be in California, and I was so glad because that's so much closer than Texas.
That's so cool, Mary.
It's going to be at his ranch there, and so that will be in the end of October, I think, middle to the end of October. So that's one thing coming up that we'll be excited to do.
And you just did. I haven't heard you did a interview with Equus Film Festival as well.
Oh yeah, there's that. Gosh, I forgot. See, that's the problem with living in the moment. You forget things,
No, that's okay. Somebody not living in the moment will bring it up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, Equus Film Arts and Literature Festival is in Albuquerque. It's coming up very soon, within maybe a month. I forget the dates. we should be there, but it's, again, Albuquerque was a bit far for us to travel this time. But the Audible, our Audible is part of their award program. So we'll wait to see here come December 1st, end of November 1st to December, how we do the print version. Last year won the award for most inspirational. So yeah, that was a great honor. And if anybody doesn't know about Lisa Dearson and their beautiful program of Equus Film and Arts, look it up. She supports filmmakers, artists of all kinds, and authors, and she is just works diligently nonstop. To her and her partner, they just work to really get the word out for those of us who love horses and want to share our own personal experiences, whether that be through a work of art, photography. It's a really great thing. So
that is so beautiful.
So we'll be there in spirit.
For sure. That's so good. And there's one more. It would be a big gaping hole in the story if we didn't talk about Carly Cade and the way we originally met. I saw you on her podcast.
That's
what a beautiful.
I was actually just thinking of that yesterday. Gosh, I swear you have a Mary Cam in here somewhere, because you just everything I'm thinking you've been saying.
I know, vice versa, the same thing.
It's so funny. We're the same person, I think. I'm pretty sure. Magnus agrees with that too.
Okay,
I think we're the same. But Carly, I was thinking about the other day, thought I want to go back and do her podcast again.
Yes.
Because we talked about that we wanted to follow up. And then, of course, all this time passes and we're also busy doing stuff. And I thought, well, I'm going to hit up Carly for another visit.
There you go.
So,
and I do want to have you on the Mountains End podcast too, connecting with nature for mindfulness and personal growth, because your story fits perfectly there. So I kind of did a cross promotion as well.
Good. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you got it on both sides there. That's good.
Yeah, we'll set that for January if that works out for you. If you're not,
yes, sir, you bet.
Like off in Europe doing some podcast somewhere with somebody.
Oh yeah, no, I just don't let it get out. But you're kind of now in the family, so you get top billing.
Oh, thank you. I feel very privileged by that. Mary and Magnus behind the scenes, and he's been a huge support in what you do. I want to give him a big shout out for this, because you're always talking about him, and I see his videos on your Facebook and all of that, the things you guys do. Thank you, Magnus, for your work here too.
Yeah. No way could I have done what we've done with the book. Wow. No way could I have done it without him. He is like so many artists have he is the nuts and bolts and makes it work. Yeah. So I can do what I do. And I mean, that's how Carolyn Hunt was with Ray. Ray did Ray, but Carolyn did all that hard work, and Magnus is that for me. So,
and I can just see your love and respect for him exudes too. So that's beautiful to see a working team, especially after all you've been through, and now you've grown in so many ways, and you are living my dream life. You're right out there in nature. You've got your barn and your ranch is right there in the mountains, in the woods. And then you guys are it's beautiful. I love following what you guys are doing as well. So our
marriage is testimony for sure.
Yes.
Our marriage is testimony to the work. There's no better example than a marriage that it keeps expanding every single day.
Absolutely.
And not a cliche. It's true.
No, it's not. That's why I was going to say, the reason I brought that up is because in our interactions over the last 6 months, that has been a key point, as well as how you guys work together. So I do want one more question, is how do people find you?
Oh, well, marycorning.com. is the website. And from that hub, you can find everything. So you can go to the Facebook page, you can go to YouTube, you can go, and all our blogs and video, not all, but a great many of the videos and things end up there. But if you like Facebook and you're part of Facebook, I love interacting with community. So that's really where the person-to-person stuff, I mean, I love when people comment and I can get back and comment back, and then I start to feel that we're really connecting about the work and the material, that people tell me how they feel about the book, or they feel about a blog, or you this morning, your beautiful comment about the video, the spontaneous video, and what it did for you. Then that joins it, that brings us together. So highly recommend stopping in there. It's Mary S. Corning Personal Coach, I believe it is, something like that. But Google it, you'll find it.
And is Circle Around Publishing part of that as well, your publishing company?
Yes.
Okay.
Circle Around is our publishing company. We were independent publishers of the book. And so that is, it'll soon to have another title out someday, hopefully. And we'll keep doing it as long as we're breathing. There's more to be told,
I love it. Mary, thank you. If I had more suction cups, I'd be on your Facebook page all the time, every chance I'll get, especially after seeing that beautiful post you did. I called the log, or you called the log chat, I guess.
Yeah, the log chat. Yeah.
And I'm just saying it right now to people. It was worth the time. I felt very happy. It's just a little before Christmas. I've been super busy work-wise, which is a good thing, but I've taken some time to play. But I haven't taken enough time to sleep or rest, and it made me feel like I had a good
that's sleep. Overrated,
Serious, taking the time. Yeah, it's overrated. Taking the time to just listen and be there with you in that log chat, because you gave moments of peace. Yeah. It was a meditation for me. It really was. It was beautiful.
Great. Oh, I'm so glad. That's exactly was my intention. So thank you for the feedback. I really rely on that. I have all these ideas, but I love to hear back from people. How is it being received?
Yeah.
Because, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's the sharing is about connecting it. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I'll do this the rest of my life, whether I ever share it or not, but being able to put it out there and have that with you, it's so, let's use this internet thing to the best of our ability. And
Amen.
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
It was so beautiful. I did feel connected to you, and even your dogs sat right behind you over your right shoulder.
Wasn't that something?
Took a moment to just pause. It was beautiful.
And we all looked the same direction. I noticed that when I watched it. I go, wow, we were all like looking off in the same, and they were running the back 20. I mean, those dogs were running, and then I said, let's pause. And they run up to sit down.
They did. It was a perfect moment.
You did or something. Cue dogs.
Cue the dogs. No, and that's what was nice, beautiful about it, is that you were just being transparent, and the universe, you cooperated with the universe. It all came together. Felt like a Disney movie. Almost heard this music. Or whatever,
Oh, yeah. Well, pretty soon you'll be hearing music on these things. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I hear.
Looking forward to that.
The only thing that didn't come together in that video was my hair.
Oh, nobody.
I mean, it was like the wind and everything, and I thank God I had a hat on, because it was like, is that hair sticking out?
And I love that. I didn't even notice that, Mary. I love that about you too, is that you were just Mother Nature's daughter, right out there, just being part of nature.
I had my mucking boots on. I was knee deep in Mother Nature. I tell you.
Well, I hope people take. I hope people take your cue from that and learn to just let go a little bit more and just be, and not have to always worry. Be tired in the doing. Check out that post, and I can't wait to see more. I am going to go check out your other ones too. So,
yay!
Magnificent Magnus and Mary Love Grace. Thank you both so much.
Mary Love Grace. You can name us anytime. We'll stand up to that.
That's good. Beautiful. That's my nickname for you guys here. Man, I am so blessed to have been here. Thank you. And love and blessings to you.
Thank you.
This wraps up today's show with author Mary Corning. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you for being here today at the Skydance Mountain Author Spotlight Podcast, the show for creators across the globe, where we encourage you to get off your duff and create great stuff. We'll see you here again soon.